Welcome to Diminishing Returns. This week we take on the Johnny English franchise in anticipation of the third instalment, Johnny English Strikes Again, being released this week. And if you're a real hardcore Diminishing Returns fan, then we have something very special for you, because this week's episode is also available in its full, unedited form. That's right, if you haven't had enough after the next hour of podcasting gold, then you can go to our website, dimreturns.com, and get the full 2.5 hour podcast just as we recorded it, if you think you can take it. And given that Johnny English is a pastiche of the Bond franchise, there should be no surprise as to who our very special guest is this week.
Yes, hello. Welcome to Diminishing Returns. I'm back. It's me, Calvin.
Whoa, what's that voice? That
I
high-pitched
know.
squeal? I don't recognise it anymore.
Oh my god, Calvin's here. That means we must be doing James Bond.
Yay, Bond!
Oh,
Yay!
Well, funnily enough, we are reviewing a film by some of the writers of some of the more recent James Bond films.
Wait, what?
Ooh.
Yes, I know we'll get into it, but yes, I'm Calvin. I know no fear. With me is Alan, who knows no danger.
Hello.
And then there's Saul, who knows nothing.
What?
See what I did there? No, I was doing the Johnny English poster. The tagline for the film. I was doing it for the three of us.
I was playing along by not knowing anything and saying what?
Brilliant. Right. So, yeah, you invited me back very kindly, I must say, to talk about Johnny English and Johnny English Reborn in anticipation of the third film, the hitherto unfathomable
The long-awaited, in great demand.
Yeah.
Johnny English reactivated. What's it called?
Johnny English Strikes Again.
Strikes Again, okay.
Yeah. Where should we start when it comes to talking about this most unlikely of franchises?
I was going to say, we haven't touched on Rowan Atkinson yet, but he's quite a big figure in the world of British comedy. I suppose
He
not so much
appeared
in
in
the
our
world of
Love
film.
Actually episode.
Oh yeah, you're right. I take it back.
we said it was a weird character that didn't work.
Yeah, we haven't really gone into him in much detail, though, have we?
No.
It's because there's not a
I never
Blackadder
thought there was
movie
much
or,
cause to. I haven't heard people screaming for it on the Facebook page.
But
Yeah.
this or Bean are his film exploits, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
mostly a TV guy. Should we do Bean instead?
Yeah, it's the ultimate disaster movie.
There's a second one.
There's a third one.
Is there?
Yeah, he just did some weird... Right. He, he just, like, I think last year or earlier this year, some Chinese language film, only for the Chinese market, like, that he obviously agreed to do in the knowledge it would never, ever come out in the Western marketplace.
Suntory whiskey.
Yeah, it's some kind of spin-off of a reality TV show. It's like a comedian talent show. They made some bizarre scripted film spin-off about all the contestants going off and having an adventure, and Mr. Bean joins in as one of them. And it's just Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what we're doing. We're doing Johnny English.
I think he's hard up for cash, to be honest, so it does tie into...
He's spunked it all on trucks.
No, he's having a divorce, isn't he? He's having a difficult divorce, I think. He like left his wife for a 20-year-old or something.
Oh, good man.
I mean, it's all above board. Yeah.
He's always holding those like conferences as well, talking about like how politically correct society is now and how it's damaging for comedy and all that.
It is indicative of a culture that has taken hold of the programs of successive governments, that with the reasonable and well-intentioned ambition to contain obnoxious elements in society, has created a society of an extraordinarily authoritarian and controlling nature. That is what you might call the new intolerance.
I might as well say it at the top of the show here. Like, Rowan Atkinson growing up was one of my real childhood heroes. Like, I thought he was fantastic. I have to say, like, the more I kind of get to know him and see behind the curtain, he comes across like such a fucking knobhead. Such a prat. Just really pretentious. Apparently on the set
that a
of
big
one
surprise, though?
Well, as a kid, when you grow up watching Mr. Bean and Blackadder and you see this rubber-faced guy, it kind of is a harsh realisation that, oh no, this guy's just a bit of a prick. Like, it's just stuff like, apparently, I don't know which Johnny English film it was, but apparently on the set of one of them, he was going out of his way to keep it as serious and unfunny on set because he kept saying it should never be funny on set, because all the laughter has to be on the screen, and the more serious and boring it is on set, the funnier it becomes on screen.
They must have been having a right laugh on the set of this film. I don't know about that. but yeah, I don't know. I like Rowan Atkinson as well, and yeah, obviously I'm thinking of Blackadder and all this, but yeah, he always seemed like a bit of a tosser. I mean, he went to Oxford University, wherever that is.
I still like him. Yeah, he's one of the Ben Elton lot as well, you know? You think tosser working in comedy, Ben Elton, number 1. Richard Curtis, number 2. It makes sense that number 3 would be Rowan Atkinson, doesn't it? So, yeah, you're right.
Well, I'm probably the one with the least amount of baggage when it comes to Rowan Atkinson, by the sounds of it. I still haven't actually watched Blackadder. Mr. Bean, I've seen the odd bit on TV, but I wouldn't say I was a massive fan, as much as I do like it. Funnily enough, Johnny English was one of the favourite DVDs for the French teacher to stick on at the end of term. So I've actually seen Johnny English about 10 times over the course of my life.
I've made a very similar note. I think if there was like a way to figure out like the relationship between how many times I've seen a film compared to how good it is, I think this is like the worst film I've seen a lot. I don't really know how to word that, but I have seen it far too many times, is kind of what I'm getting at. I mean, I don't know. As much as I really am going to be slagging it off, I do think there's a certain charm to the film. And I don't know I don't know if that's purely Rowan Atkinson being kind of likable in spite of coming across like behind the camera he's a bit of a tosser. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Johnny English as a character is very likable. He's an underdog, he's got a dream, he wishes to be a James Bond-like spy, and then by accident he sort of ends up in that role.
I don't know if he is. I don't really know if I have a good grasp on what the character is. I feel like he kind of changes from scene to scene, and he
definitely changes from the first film to the second film, but the films are very different, which we'll get into. But yeah, in the first film, I think he's a bit of a tosser. I don't know if he's particularly supposed to be likable, but that is quite a skill in itself to make this arrogant, pathetic character even remotely likable. I think that's a skill. It's like Chris Barry as Gordon Brittus or something like that. You know, it's like making an arsehole still likable. That's a good skill to have. So Rowan Atkinson, okay. So this film, as far as I can tell, was born of Barclaycard adverts.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Seems to be the case. And not just like, he did a similar character. I mean, it's essentially exactly the same thing. He's got a sidekick named Boff.
Wow, whose this crime doesn't pay? The bigger they are, Boff, the harder they fall. I'm thinking of buying a house, sir. On your salary, Boff. And how do you intend to pay for it? With your Barclaycard. Well, funnily enough, sir, you could get up to £1,500 back from Barclaycard with a new Barclays mortgage.
£1,500, eh? Well, Belgravia beckons, Boff.
I think it's a good offer, sir.
Just leave the thinking to me.
Which is a weird place to come from. But it does seem like this idea to do a sort of Bond parody thing was separate from that. And then they were like, oh, well, we've already done this, and Rowan Atkinson would be great for this. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it was literally someone saw the adverts and went, oh, I smell a feature film.
Oh, yeah, I think Rowan Atkinson is one of the main creative forces behind it, even though he's not technically credited as a writer or a producer. But he's definitely the driving force behind these films, I would say, because much of the other creative team, shift around and, don't come back for successive films.
Have they?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Ben Miller didn't even come back for the second one, let alone,
Yeah.
I get the impression that it's a character or a concept that he's been workshopping for a long time behind closed doors, and my guess would be he had to wait for enough distance to be put between Austin Powers and his own Bond spoof before anyone would go ahead with it.
It's a very different style. To say it's parodying the same thing, it's very different.
Oh yeah, completely different type of yeah.
What I do find interesting about this first film is that written by Neil Purvis and Robert Wade, who at this point had written 2 Bond films.
I
went on to write more, so this is not...
Yeah.
So this was right in the heart of their writing Bond.
I mean, I don't think they've ever really come out and said much about it. It's interesting to note that they've not written any other comedies since or before, by what I can tell.
Or during. Hey?
Unless you count Die Another Day as a comedy.
But this is why I find very interesting, because they're the writers of the Bond films. They're right in the heart of it. They must be they're writing stuff and they go, oh, we can't put that in the wrong one because it's a bit too silly. Oh, wouldn't it be funny if we could do this, but we can't. So all these ideas that they must have just lying over, or at least they know exactly what they're parodying. And so why does this not really work?
Is that what happened with Die Another Day? They accidentally control copied and pasted something into the wrong script.
You'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah, no, I have. When you think of Die Another Day, which is an official Bond film, probably has more sillier elements in it, Pierce Brosnan windsurfing, on a glacier tsunami and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, there's another guy credited on the writing team as well, William Davis, and I can only assume that he was the guy that they probably brought in as comedy punch up. And Rowan Atkinson probably contributed a lot himself, I would have thought.
I might, I'm going to get quite patriotic here, but I do think this is one of the most British films ever made. And I mean that inclusive of its faults and.
No, I completely agree.
I think if you were to pick a film that represents our fine nation in the most accurate way you possibly could to show to another country or aliens or whatever, I think this would be one of the probably the best pick I can think of. Really, it just and it's also just very naff. At times when it thinks it's being really suave and sophisticated. It's kind of just, but I say, there's a certain charm to the whole thing, I'm not you can't hate it, even though you probably ought to.
I think we're all agreed that Rowan Atkinson, if it wasn't for him, that certainly wouldn't be a film. But I think that the supporting cast is quite strong, especially John Malkovich as your main villain.
Yes,
he could quite easily be a...
Look, guys, it's French John Malkovich. Hello, I am a French. Why you think my accent is totally merde? It's very good accent.
No, he got a lot of flack for his accent in this film. But
yeah, it sounds like René Artois in LOL.
I'm pretty sure he's actually a French citizen, isn't he?
That doesn't mean he can do the accent. You're technically a Mexican citizen, but you're not allowed to do it.
Hey, man, arriba! What are you talking about? It's fantastic.
English has seen too much. We go to plan B. Get rid of the fake archbishop and greenlight the visit to Her Majesty, and then this pathetic country can humiliate itself by crowning me officially.
when I first saw it, I just thought it was because, like, you know, some of the Bond films go to, like, obscure foreign actors who haven't really broken through or something, and they bring them over, and I thought that that's what this film was doing with this, like, strange French guy who was, obviously hadn't had a big break in the States yet. But no.
You know what? I don't think his French accent's even that bad. I think it's just...
it's supposed to be a caricature.
It's a cartoon
It's supposed
accent,
to be
though,
bad.
that's it.
Yeah.
This is the thing. The film in general gets very cartoony, and I think that's not a good thing. I think, and in terms of the plot, like in terms of the ending with the crown and all this, like the magic crown that is, as soon as it's on your head, you're the king.
Well, that's how it works.
Is it? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
If someone accidentally falls into the place and they get the crown put on them by accident, that still counts, does it?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. And we all do everything they say because they are our ruler, even if they are a French supervillain who's manipulated their way into power.
What did we make of Natalie Imbruglia as the sort of Johnny English girl?
Well, Natalie Imbruglia and Ben Miller just get lost in the mix. They don't get given enough to do. They need to have more, like Natalie Imbruglia particularly. It's just the character is pointless. And then they're like, oh, and they're in love or something. It's like this. Like if you're gonna do a James Bond thing where he gets this woman, like do it. Don't do it like, oh, they're actually falling for each other. Just do it like he has to sleep his way to get some information, and like he doesn't really know what to do, and he's a bit nervous, and like so he messes it up or whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't think she does that bad a job at all.
I think she's fine. It's
honest,
just
like,
it's like as a bit of stunt casting, it's like really that's the best she could get is Natalie.
Is it stunt casting?
What?
Wasn't she?
Yeah, no, I
just
thought
an
she
actor,
was just trying to get into acting at this point.
She was an actor.
Was she?
She was an
Not
actor.
really. What else
She was a singer, wasn't she?
No, she was in Neighbours, and so she did
Oh,
a song
she
off
one
the
of
back
them,
of
like
Neighbours.
Kylie.
Yeah, exactly. They should have got a French girl.
They got one. You got John Malkovich.
What do you mean I am not French? I am so obviously French. I have a garlic, a baguette.
You're doing like an angry French chef, whereas he is more slow and calculated, like a suave man who's going to sleep with your wife and you know it. So we've touched on the rest of the cast. What about Ben Miller? We haven't really done
let's talk about Ben Miller, because I think the character, it's one of the things that is sort of missing from the writing. It's one of the main things that just doesn't come together. That character never gets his just reward for helping all the time and being right all the time.
Like, I like Ben Miller, but like, what is he? He's very plain, and like anyone could have played this role. I don't think he brings anything to it.
Harsh.
I think a lot of people would have brought more to it than he does.
He is just supposed to be the straight guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
like, I think,
but even then,
Ben Miller is just that. Like, he's in mainly comedies, but I don't think of him as a comedian. I just think of him as a straight, sort of hapless guy.
That's it. Even then, I feel like
someone
someone could have been the straight guy a lot better than he was.
Yeah, there needs to be a point where either Johnny English goes, all right, you've helped me out, and kind of learns a little bit of humility, which happens in the second one. Or, you know, Ben Miller's character gets, you know, the reward at the end. He's recognised in some way. But it's not. It all just falls onto Johnny English, who at no point, and that's the other trouble with Johnny English, at no point does he kind of turn a corner, learn a lesson, and say, okay, now I'm going to change and do this right. He just stumbles into the next thing. And it's, again, something they address in the second film. They do a lot better. But in this one, it's just, everything is an accident, and then he just accidentally falls into the success. And so there's no sense of achievement out of the character. I think it's just bad writing.
Yeah.
We've been kind of down on it, but there is a lot to enjoy here still, I think. I
It is entertaining.
Yeah, it's not a painful watch.
Well, that's it. I part of the reason I've seen it so many times is that it is just very easy to sit through. Well, here's a positive. The music. My note is that the music would be the best part of the film, except it's really overscored. It's like Mickey Mouse scoring. But the actual main theme is fantastic. Like it's this real Bond-esque.
Yeah, that's the best bit of the Bond parodying is that song. Because it could be a real song. Like, if you don't listen too close to the lyrics, it's like Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about the theme rather than the song, but the song is as well pretty. Yeah.
Oh no, the song was pre-existing, wasn't it? And they just used it for the film. It wasn't written for the film.
Oh, really? That Man for All Seasons, Robbie Williams.
Yeah,
thing.
the Robbie Williams. Yeah.
Because I assumed it was written as a sort of a little parody of
I-
Bond songs. But looking at the lyrics, there's nothing specific. But it is obviously a Bond song. So I think this was a genuine Robbie Williams Bond song. And then they were like, "Oh, this is silly enough to use as a parody."
Yeah, could well have been. Yeah.
Who's doing what, why, when, and who? Up the creek with no canoe. Watch out for the man for all seasons. Plugs them and leaves them alone. So alone, but safe at home.
So, if you haven't seen it, there's a scene where he crashes a funeral because he believes that it's like being staged.
They've got the crown jewels in a coffin. That's how they got
That's
them away.
And he gets mixed up with the hearse.
Yeah.
Hearse?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Hearse.
He's chasing a hearse that in a car. Yeah, that's it. It's a car chase. Now, this scene on paper should be hilarious and like so up my street. And there's just something about it just doesn't work.
Can I tell you what it is?
Go on.
It's because, and it happens in several of the scenes in the film, that people don't react.
Yeah.
It's the same when the whole thing with the coronation is going on,
I had that
and he's
thought,
got the
yeah.
Archbishop Canterbury's arse out. There's no one running up and going, "Stop this, you madman!" or like security running in.
Well, they
because
they
it's the
do
fucking
try-
coronation. There'll be armed police there.
Yeah,
Or,
shooting him with a
and
point
then the
blank.
same. It's like they've got all these extras and just like, don't speak, just sort of cry politely.
Well,
as
there's
if you're
one
upset.
specific moment where the woman is cued to start going, "Oh!" hoo, hoo," and sobbing. But that's only because then he goes, "Oh, and real tears. Very good."
Real tears? You get paid extra for that?
But nobody grabs him and goes, "Get off the coffin, you prick!" And like he's got a gun, so the more honest reaction would be to go, "Holy shit, he's got a gun! What the fuck is this guy?" Like not just, "Oh, I'm upset because I'm at a funeral. Oh, is something strange happening at this funeral? I barely even noticed."
And I don't know if the reaction, if you're mourning someone, I don't know if the reaction would be to like start crying even more when this fucking maniac shows up. I think you'd kind of be like, you'd just be like, what is going on? What is this?
But they don't even play it like that. They do just sort of stand there quietly,
Yeah.
not shocked, not offended looking.
Yeah.
Just
And then in the coronation scene, they cut to the shot with the Prime Minister there. There's 200 extras filling up this room, and none of them are going, "Oh, shall we try and stop this? Shall we just..." Oh, no, never mind.
There is one bit when I think that like the Prime Minister stands up and says "Savage," and then he points a gun at him, and then he sits down, and I think that's supposed to explain why no one's
Why the heavily armed
interfering,
police aren't getting involved. Calvin, this what in Johnny English, you're the best equipped to answer this, what in Johnny English is Bond parody? Like, what jumps out at you as like, look, they've seen this thing in Bond and then they've gone, right, we'll twist it this way?
I mean, you raise a good point, and I think, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, the next film in the series strikes me as more of a Bond parody than this.
Yeah.
They do have the secret agent guy at the very start, who is an obvious, like, Bond figure who Johnny looks up to and admires, and then he bumps him off. Accidentally. Yeah, I mean, there's no, like, sort of, I mean, John Malkovich has, like, a cool, like, I guess it's a castle or whatever, but it's not
really a
like your
lair,
traditional...
is it?
Yeah, exactly. His plan is very... Well, no, his plan's more comedic.
His plan's more Austin Powers than Bond. But,
yeah, exactly.
But fair enough.
So, yeah, and he obviously has a car with gadgets, but that's not really... the car and the gadgets themselves aren't really spoofed. They more just facilitate other gags, like blowing up the traffic camera and stuff. So,
Bond, never really has a sidekick. Like Buff, not in that mould anyway. Occasionally has people help.
Well, there's
him.
always a woman that you can sleep with, but this is a family film, so...
Yeah, and then you've got the woman, and they don't really commit to that.
No one wants to see Rowan Atkinson getting off with a woman like half his age either. It's just kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So I reckon he wrote it into the film, and the director kind of had to like hold him back a bit and be like, "Come on, let's not have too much of that." It's not play. It doesn't play well.
I will say that when it comes to spoofing Bond, I think it's very difficult to spoof the Bond character himself, and it's easier to spoof the other sort of fantastical elements around him. But this film doesn't really do either of those. Like even Austin Powers doesn't really parody the Bond character. He's this sort of like Michael Caine.
That's it. What is that all about? It's so weird to say how directly spoofing Bond those films are at times. The character's like nothing to do with him. It's bizarre. I've never quite understood it.
Yeah. I don't think it really succeeds very well as a Bond spoof. It is a spy caper, I guess. But
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it feels like this is not a Bond parody, but it's a film about a character that's watched Bond and like dreams of being Bond, rather than the whole world being a Bond parody.
And maybe that would have worked if they didn't have that Bond character at the start who comes in and that establishes that, okay, we are living in a sort of James Bond-esque world of silliness and villains, and maybe it would have been funnier if Rowan Atkinson was just aspiring to be that character in a very normal world.
Yeah, but then
like you say, the tone's all over
that's
the place.
it. There's other elements that clash with that as well, like the music, the theme. The very presence of a theme like that is just so Bond-like. The Bond girl character who's kind of there, but then... I mean, I guess a lot of comedies have a crowbarred in romance, but I don't know. There's a few things that feel like very overt attempts at doing a Bond thing, but then it doesn't quite gel with the bulk of the film.
Yeah. I really like John Malkovich's infomercial video about how he plans to use... when he's king, he's going to use Britain as a giant prison.
Well, I really like the plan. I think that the film it obviously becomes absurdly silly when his evil, dastardly plan comes out, but that's more interesting to me than the sort of stuff you actually get in Bond films, because it's so like... It's something you'd get in a cartoon, and again, it's sort of pitched at a different level than half the film. But I do like it conceptually. And yeah, so if anyone hasn't seen it, he's going to become the king through a series of technical this and that and blah, 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 because he's in line for the throne.
Yeah.
Any foreign listeners should know that there's a million like bizarre things that the Queen technically owns or can do, and one of which is she technically can seize any land she wants for herself, because technically all the land actually still belongs to her and we're just kind of renting it from her.
I mean, I don't know if that's true.
No, that is true. No, it is. She technically owns all the land and we're renting it from her. That's why we pay the monarch. That's what that money is a payment.
Are you thinking
for.
of swans?
But obviously...
She can seize all the swans.
But obviously, like, the royalty are figureheads and none of that would... Like, the second the Queen actually tried to enact any sort of power like that, we'd be like, right, get out.
Yeah.
Overthrow the monarchy, executions, beheadings.
Blood in the street.
Yeah. So, it doesn't really work, but for, this silly comedy, it kind of works. But then, I don't know, at the end, when Rowan Atkinson's sort of getting in the way of Pascal, who's inexplicably a really popular soon-to-be French monarch that all the crowds are, like, on board with, even though, like, in reality, the Daily Mail would be going mental.
It was back in 2003. We were a much more, friendly nation.
But the film itself keeps making jokes about how much the Brits hate the French. Like, it keeps... Chris Tarrant keeps going on about... What's his thing? Like, we're taking your top 10 reasons you love France. We're still waiting for a call. Haven't had a single call yet. Even the film can't help itself. So... Then we're meant to buy that all these crowds are out, like, oh yeah, King Pascal.
Yeah, but have you seen these fucking cunts when there's a royal wedding or a baby?
Yeah, no, I mean that I can
line
get
on
on
the
board.
Streets, they've got the Union Jack suits on. Fucking hell, drop a bomb.
Half of them are American as well, and that I can completely get on board with, like, as part of the film. But then
maybe these ones are French.
But if this was reality,
this is why we got Brexit.
If this was reality.
This film.
If this was reality, then the moment when Johnny English is stood up prattling around on stage, there wouldn't be gasps and shock in the streets and like open mouth people agog, just like, this is so undignified. People would be going like, yes, mate, come on, English! No, fucking legend, mate! Like, everyone be laughing their heads off, cheering him on. You go and watch footage.
What kind of, like, people do you watch royal events with? Like,
all the people in the pub would be laughing their heads
Harry and
off.
Meghan's wedding and being like, oh yeah, I hope someone throws an egg or something.
No, right, watch footage from any British election, right? There's always someone in the back dressed like a rejected Mighty Boosh character. just there, or like or someone dressed up as Mr. Blobby or something like that. It's always there. And it's, people love it. It's one of the few things in this world that makes me genuinely patriotic. And sort of like this country, the fact that you've always got one of those people in the background, Mr. Chips, or
well, they're normally running, aren't they?
Yeah,
sort of, spoof
yeah,
party.
and that's it. And then Prime Minister Theresa May has to accept her election to power, stood in the foreground of a photograph of someone dressed up as a piece of broccoli. That's what this country is, and it's brilliant.
That's what democracy is all about.
Yeah, and that's why I think the crowds would be a lot more jovial and willing to see what Johnny English was going to do next, instead of being gasping in shock.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess that the film was sort of well received, and
I mean, was it?
Made some money.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was very well received at all. I think everyone kind of thought it was weak. Even people like myself, as a 13-year-old fan of Rowan Atkinson, was kind of not his best work. Should we rate it?
I'm gonna go 6.
Yeah, I'm going 6 as well. I think it's quite
Really?
generous.
Yeah.
But I think that's quite generous.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's like a silly comedy. It's entertaining, but it doesn't really hold together. But it's like, what are you expecting,
That's interesting, because I also give it a very generous 6, but I thought you guys were gonna come down on me for being so generous after I was signing it off.
Well, you're right. It's got a charm about it, and it is.
Yeah.
Some of it's vaguely amusing. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Then inexplicably, 8 years on, a sequel came out. I don't think anyone was asking for a sequel.
No.
Well, Rowan Atkinson must have been.
Well, he must have been the only, driving force behind it, surely. I mean, especially so long after the first one came out.
Well, that's it. All the 5-year-olds who liked the first one are too old to enjoy it anymore. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the first one did make loads of money. The first one came out at the very peak of that, DVD, home media, being a big thing. With it being such a kind of kid-friendly film, I can completely believe it made a killing on DVD.
And I guess it would play well on TV as well. You can put it on an ITV on an afternoon.
Yeah.
Relatively inoffensive.
I was working in a cinema when the second one came out. They really went to town, promoting it with Johnny English popcorn bags and stuff like that. They'll do that every few months for it's normally the Avengers or Star Wars, and inexplicably they went with Johnny English Reborn for that particular quarter, or however often they updated all the stuff.
That's unusual. I've got a photo with one of the placards, I think, from 2010. I don't really know why it was so, and even now I'm seeing the new one promoted quite heavily. Yeah. I mean, I know it's the second one's in fact, I think they're all Universal films, so they've got a very healthy marketing budget behind them and whatnot, but I'm just flabbergasted that this is a series.
I bet they do very well internationally. They're kind of broad enough and not as incredibly British as they are. I don't think they're too tied to the culture in terms of the sense of humour.
And Rowan Atkinson has a big international appeal because of Bean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a good sort of thing to trade on.
So Casino Royale came out after Johnny English and reinvented the Bond franchise and, by extension, the spy genre.
Well, I mean, you could credit that to the Bourne films as well.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Which came out slightly before, but I get your point.
so Johnny English Reborn kind of seemed very much like they were pitching it as, how's this old school guy going to fit into a new type of spy movie, eh? And again, muddled tone. The film doesn't really know what it's doing. 2 or 3 scenes kind of doing that. The rest of it, real old school James Bond stuff.
I think this works better than the last one.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think this is a much more sensible plot. It has a much more straightforward narrative that it's dealing with. The characters are more well-rounded. No, I don't think it is.
I think this one actually has like good, exciting, well-choreographed action sequences for the most part.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
And it's. I don't know if it had a bigger budget or what, but it embraces that. It embraces that like international feel of James Bond, like they're traveling around the world at different locations.
Yeah, there's the snow one, the rural England
well,
one.
that felt like a proper Bond lair that they end up in at the end, like a proper villain's lair up on a mountain, cable car.
But also, it's not really. They don't really have a Bond villain as such, do they?
Kind of. I mean, he's not an overt caricature of a villain, but I mean, there is a.
There's a bad guy, there's an antagonist, but it's not a Bond villain type of villain, is he? It's different.
Well, he's sort of like Bond. He's if Bond was a villain. I think that's the point. They have Dominic West in as this sort of James Bond cipher in this film, and then he becomes the villain. And I think that's what they're doing with it. So Johnny English has to go up against James Bond himself, kind of.
Dominic West just strikes me like someone that Alan would inexplicably like hate for some reason.
I had the exact same thought. I don't know why.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything else he's even done.
That. I've slagged him off many times on this podcast.
Have you?
That's why it's.
What's he even done?
He was in the new Lara Croft film. I ripped him apart for that.
Oh, maybe I'm just subconsciously.
So I think you remember that. Yeah. But yeah, he's shit. In this role is the sort of role he can do. So he's not bad here, but it's such a bland performance for a character that you don't have to go full John Malkovich to bring something out of this. There's a middle ground there.
Crikey. I was looking to get a little hanky-panky, and this one bloke gave me this number to call when I got across the pond.
You know who they should have had?
Rupert Everett?
Yeah, actually, that could work.
I mean, that would have been good as well, but no, it's not who I was going to say. Jack Davenport.
God.
Yeah? Because you hate him as well.
I hate him as well. He's better than Dominic West, to be fair. I'll give him that.
I think he would have been good in that role, actually, Jack Davenport.
Yeah.
The cast in this film, real step up from the first, I think. No disrespect to John Malkovich, who's kind of almost as much of the lifeblood of the first one as Rowan Atkinson is, but this second one adds into the mix Gillian Anderson. I couldn't remember if it was Gillian or Gillian then. Gillian Anderson.
Yeah, no, she's the new Pegasus, the new head of MI7.
Tim McInerney, a little reunion moment. Him as the new Q.
That
kind of wasted, but
yeah, wasted. That was exactly my words. Yeah,
but at least now they have a Q character.
Yeah, Oscar nominee Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah,
very early role for him.
Yeah,
and this is it really jumped out at me here as well. Like he's one of those people who just seems to have something about him. Like no matter what.
Oh god, yeah,
he's just got some magic about him.
Yeah,
like the camera.
Well, this is. I didn't want to get into it too much before, but like what we were saying earlier about how if they'd cast someone with a bit more something about themselves than Ben Miller, no disrespect to Ben Miller, I like Armstrong and Miller, but Daniel Kaluuya is that. He is that role, but with some personality, and he actually brings something to the role, and you're actually like happy to see him on screen, basically.
Yeah.
You got Rosamund Pike.
Yes, Rosamund Pike, who was in Die Another Day, so she was a Bond girl villainous in that film.
Again, just very tacked on here, this character.
Yeah, I don't really know what she's doing in the
pasted
film,
in love story thing that's going on that doesn't really work.
And Alan, did you spot our favourite?
The president of Mozambique.
Yes.
You're right, I did. I was going to mention it too. I saw him, because it is an extra role. He doesn't speak, you just see him getting killed. And just quick glances of him, I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. But I couldn't place it. I had to look him up. But as soon as I saw that name, The guy who plays the president of Mozambique who gets killed, gets assassinated.
He's called Vali
essentially-
Oyo.
Called Vali Oyo. He plays Mr. Adebanjo in Meet the Adebanjos.
Oh.
A long-term favourite of Saul and I.
Okay.
I mean, we went to see him live, didn't we, Alan? We watched
We
him
did,
perform
yeah.
Meet the Adebanjos in person.
Of course.
Well, Alan, did you see another actor in this film that we saw live once?
I can't remember. Who was it?
Richard Schiff.
Oh, yeah. We saw him Oh, yeah, we did. We saw him with Lindsay Lohan.
We did, yes.
Oh, yeah, we did. In Speed the Plough, was it? Is that what it is called?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, again, just sort of like, how much did they pay him to turn up for like one scene? Just...
But this is it, like, is Rowan Atkinson, like, very well connected, or is there something that, because to look at this film, like, it's not the most appealing of, and it didn't have that big a budget, so I don't know how they managed to attract such a great cast,
I don't
really.
think anyone here is that remarkable. They're all, like,
Yeah.
people I would expect to turn up in a British film, you know? Even Rosamund Pike, I mean, she's not that big a deal, is she? But, like...
She's Oscar nominated.
Yeah, now.
She is now.
Oh, fair enough.
She does seem to be getting a lot of respect these days.
Oh yeah, no,
But back then
that's
she
it. But
was
again,
Johnny English
she's a
Reborn.
Daniel Kaluuya again. Like, I think what we've got here is a very good casting director who has been very savvy, like used their money effectively, and cast a lot of really talented people in smaller roles, you know, up and comers and what have you. That's really what it struck me at. Like Bern Gorman again. I think he was basically an unknown, and he's just an extra presence in the film now. I mean, was he not?
No, he'd been in Torchwood by this point.
Yeah. I mean,
His biggest thing.
I mean, he's still not a massive deal. But,
Yeah, I would say you're talking about him as if he's a big star now.
but that's it. It's just he's done a few more films since, and that's why he's kind of a recognisable face to us. But he's still not like a, you know, even Vali Oyo. That's good cast. I mean, Alan and I tried to cast him in our thing years ago. We thought, okay, we might just get him, pie in the sky. Tried to get in contact with him. Couldn't get any
Imagine
contact
when
details because
that's
he
your
changed
pie in
his
the
agent.
sky. How low do your expectations need to be?
Hey, Vali Oyo is a talented actor, man.
My potato! My potato, eh? You know it's our anniversary, eh? Anniversary. And baby, I have something special for you. Special! I know that yesterday you thought that I forgot, but I was only playing tricks. Just wait there. Wait there!
Is the opening supposed to be like a Batman Begins sort of thing? With Johnny, like, out in the desert.
I was hoping you
training.
could shed some light on this, because I haven't seen the modern Bond films. I don't know if this is, like, something in a Bond film that they're doing. Because to me, it just felt very Batman Begins as well. And I thought, well, maybe that's just kind of an age-old trope of spy films, and I've not seen enough, but...
Ace Ventura 2 does the same thing, where he starts... you see him losing a raccoon dies on his watch.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. So then he goes to... But that is specifically spoof of Cliffhanger, I think, with Sylvester Stallone.
I don't think it works that well, because Johnny English strikes me like someone where you want... Johnny English strikes me like a character where you want to believe he's off having these adventures and you're just not watching it, and you check in with him 8 years down the line and see what he's up to. And then, I don't know, that it does have a weird implication in that Johnny English is, like, become a lot more competent in this film, but then he's still incompetent.
For sure.
So you don't really know, like, is he meant to be a brilliant spy or not? It's really... I don't really know what the idea here is.
There's that whole bit when Richard Schiff's character is killed, isn't there? And they're chasing the assassin, and he's just sort of very casually following the guy along rooftops and finding quicker ways.
A nice
That's the most overt spoof, I think, of modern Bond, isn't it? They're doing a joke about all the parkour that I believe was in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And, like, conceptually, nice. But it makes Johnny English actually come across as suave and competent and sophisticated, which surely is not what the film's meant to be. I don't know. I thought the idea was he was a foolish idiot, and the joke almost feels like it should be the other way round, with him trying to do elaborate parkour and then the Ben Miller character just being like, "Sir, why didn't you use the door?" I don't know. It just doesn't quite play. Speaking of Ben Miller, was he too expensive?
I read they filmed some scenes and they got cut out. But yeah.
Yeah.
But there was never any intention to bring him back as that main character.
That's very odd. I mean, I'm not. Well, that's it. Daniel Kaluuya's much better presence in this film than he was in the first one. But it does strike me as an odd. Maybe the idea is just to kind of give him a rolling series of sidekicks from film to film. But then I was under the impression Ben Miller's back for the new one.
Yeah, the new one. It's Ben Miller.
Yeah, he is. Which is strange. Again, that's the kind of thing, like, if this were a popular series and the fans were in uproar that they recast the beloved Ben Miller role, then fair enough. But I can't imagine anyone was... Well, I suppose Daniel Kaluuya's too big a star now to possibly be brought back for a third film, but... It just seems odd that they bring Ben Miller back.
Love to make that call to his agent.
I mean, you never know. They might go, look, you remember your first big break?
Yeah, maybe he really enjoyed it, and it was like,
yeah, I doubt it.
Did a lot for me. And...
I reckon he fell out with Rowan Atkinson and doesn't want to work with him again.
Complete fact.
I've not got many notes about this one, really. I've got...
I've covered everything I wanted to say.
Well, so I think we covered most of it talking about the first film, really. It's very similar.
But like I say, I think the jokes here are slightly better. I think the cast are slightly better. There are actually good action sequences.
The script is definitely more sensible. Here. Yeah. It works better as a film in a whole.
I like the helicopter sequence, or at least the concept behind it, where they're kind of driving along the road in a helicopter. That's like a nice level of action to kind of chuck into the film that makes vague sense in a way that the first one didn't really.
So it's not mid credits exactly, but there's a scene while the credits are rolling.
What the fuck is that?
Where it's sort of like it wants to be the Charlie Chaplin Great Dictator moment where he's shaving a guy to music. I think. I don't really know, but it's just sort of Rowan Atkinson cooking in sync with the music, but not really going over the top with much of it.
It's not funny. It's not like elaborate enough to the point that it's something like I could probably improvise to that level of skill in my own kitchen cooking. It's not. It's really not that elaborate or interesting. You get the impression that Rowan Atkinson just does it at home when he's cooking and thought it would be really good to put in the film. So there's this weird scene.
It's not.
Did you watch it?
Alan, making breakfast.
This sequence.
No, I must have missed this. I probably as soon as the credits hit, I turned it off.
So
I didn't see this.
So he sat with the love interest woman, and she says like, "Oh, I really fancy a Chinese takeaway," and he's like, "Oh, I'll go and order one," and he picks up the menu and then like puts it in the bin or something, picks up the phone and puts it back down or something, then takes out a CD of is it In the Hall of the Mountain King, I think, the music.
That's it, yes.
Presses play and then just starts walking around the kitchen taking like spring onions and things out of the fridge and like chopping them on the chopping board in time to the music, just like dun 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 dun, and like taking pans out. And I think the idea is that he cooks this not particularly appetizing looking meal. It's like some fried chicken and vegetables. And I think the joke is that she's gonna go, "Oh wow, this is much nicer than the takeaway would have been." No fucking way would whatever he's cooking be as nice as a bit of sweet and sour chicken. I'm sorry, but it just wouldn't. I don't know, it's so weird. It almost feels like a deleted scene that just got stuck in the end credits.
That was my question.
I don't know where it would fit.
Well, I did notice that when in the film she goes, "Oh, you can get me a takeaway," and then it cuts to them eating with like a casserole dish on the table. It's like, this looks like a very fancy takeaway. Then,
oh, that must be where it was going to go.
So that was obviously where it was supposed to be. Yeah.
It strikes me as the kind of thing that was probably in the film because Rowan Atkinson insisted on it, but test audiences were like, "What the hell is this weird like extended musical sequence?"
But yeah, if it just kills the pace of the story,
not in character with anything we know of Johnny English, other than he's inexplicably like talented and competent in the second film, and that's just more of that.
Yeah, well, he's been training.
I was going to say, if the idea was that he'd like, where was he training? What country was it? Like Tibet or something?
Yeah, it's got to be Tibet, and monks and that.
If she'd said to him like, "Oh, I really fancy a classic Tibetan monk dish," And he'd have gone, oh, I know a good place that does that. Give me 5 minutes. I don't know, it might make more sense, but it's, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was like China that he was in. Is Tibet in China? Where's Tibet?
That's a controversial. I'm not getting involved. Don't go there.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you guys are going to be rating this one higher than the previous one.
It sounds like that.
When I went to see this at the cinema, I fucking hated it. I was so angry.
At the cinema?
Well, I worked at the cinema at the time, so I would, like, bear in mind, I would, like, go into my shift, like, 2 hours early, catch a film, and then, like, go to work, or on the way out, just catch a film for free. So I watched it for free in the cinema. I was so angry. I thought this was bullshit.
Oh.
What a load of shit. Watching it again the other night, it was like, oh, actually, this is about as good as the other one. There's not much in it.
We're all much more mellow these days.
Yeah.
We were fresh graduates back then. We were angry at media and all this.
But it was just a lot better than I remembered, really. I think it's lacking some of that sort of inexplicable charm the first film had. And I don't really know what... I don't know, I think the increased budget makes the whole thing feel glossier, which makes the whole thing feel more soulless and less forgivable of its shortcomings, and therefore I give this one a 5. I don't think it's quite as good in spite of being more competent in a lot of elements.
Well, interestingly, I guess I'm similar. I definitely think this is a better film. It's better in almost every aspect, and I would say I enjoyed it slightly more. But I'm giving it a 6. But it's better than the other one. But I would have given it a 7, but it lost a mark because his life was saved by True Love's kiss. So I took a point off for that. It's completely unironic. So I give it a 6.
Well, it's a 7 from me. I think it is, for the reasons we've highlighted, it's a much more enjoyable experience. I think the highs are much higher than the previous film. Anyway, so Ben Miller's coming back for this one.
Yeah, have you seen the trailer?
Yeah,
I watched the trailer.
Yeah, they've ticked the boxes of. They've got Olga Kurilenko, who was a former Bond girl, so taking over from Rosamund Pike, I guess. Emma Thompson, I suppose, taking over from Gillian Anderson.
The M character.
No, it says she's playing the Prime Minister.
Oh, very topical. I don't actually know what the plot is. Does anyone know what it's going to be?
Well, I watched the trailer and it wasn't apparent. So.
Yeah, Johnny English comes out of like hiding again. There's some scenes on a boat that are painful with him like falling around, and kids were laughing in the cinema at stuff that wasn't funny. So yeah, I mean, it looks like more of the same.
Do you think they'll have fine-tuned the relationship between him and Ben Miller so it's actually funny this time, or
no?
Nah.
No, I think this is the last one, though.
Oh, really?
I don't think Rowan Atkinson is going to live to make another one. I don't think
he's to come around every 8 years.
Yeah, I don't think he's got another one in him. I think he's going to go a bit quite young, Rowan Atkinson, and it'll be national tragedy.
Well, what age would you have to be to still classify as dying young?
I don't know, how old is Rowan Atkinson now?
He's 63.
Yeah.
I think any time before 70 is it's not a great age to go at, is it?
But anything lower than 70, the newsreaders can't smile as they sort of fondly remember the life that person had.
When do they smile announcing the death of...
No, but every now and then when
Ken Dodd died last night. Hey.
When it's hard to get upset about these rich. Late 80s, early 90-year-olds who've had great lives and careers and have died peacefully with their family around them.
But when it's Paul Chuckle.
Was he young?
Is that the one that died? I don't know. Was it the other one?
I mean, he was the younger of the...
little one. It was the little one.
It was Barry.
He was the younger of the two, wasn't he? Oh, no, he was just a small one. I don't know.
He's just smaller. He was the runt.
No, he is. He was the older of those two, but I think they've got older brothers.
Yeah. We spoke about the other two Chuckle brothers that are unofficial Chuckle brothers, but are the older brothers who are still alive.
Yeah, one of them married a 25-year-old or something.
That's why he's still alive. He's got that to live for, keeping him young.
Well, that blows your Rowan Atkinson theory out then.
True. I'm sure he's like making this Johnny English film because he needs money for his divorce or something. I'm sure I read that it got him back into like making stuff because he needed money all of a sudden.
It says he divorced in November 2015, and he
immediately
had a child
put this into
this time last year.
My goodness.
So he's got, hang on, his child was born in December 2017. That means he made this film to get out of the house.
That explains it.
Because this film was shooting like early 2018.
Oh, God. Yeah?
Because they do just like
desperate.
pop out of nowhere, these films.
That's
like,
it, yeah. It's like you forget about it. You forget about everyone involved. Oh, there's another one? Okay.
Yeah, I've never met anyone, or indeed seen anyone on any kind of social media platform excited about the prospect of more Johnny English films. What is there new to spoof? I mean, so I know that you mentioned that in the previous Johnny English film, the tone was sort of all over the place with regards to what it was spoofing, but now it's sort of they've done kind of your campier sort of like 90s Bonds, and then they've done the grittier reboot franchises. So I'm not quite sure what there is to do in this one.
Yeah. I don't think it'd stop them. Because the first two are so like, are these even spoof movies, or have we kind of forgotten we're making a spoof halfway through? I think they just kind of do their own thing. But I don't know, if we, let's say we're doing it, this is what we do pitches.
Yep.
How would we approach it?
Are you reminding me? That long?
I'm trying to knead it into this discussion.
Knead dough. I'm missing Bake Off for this. I'm gonna run off now, guys. No, I'm not.
I don't know. No one really cares about... Oh, pardon me. Oh, God. That was some Johnny English caliber humour right there. A man burping as he's trying to talk.
What everybody really wants is a new Blackadder. That's what they should do if you're going to start dragging back stuff from years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you suggesting that we picture Blackadder revival?
Can we just kind of... Let's keep Tim McInerney in the cast. Let's get Tony Robinson in as his sidekick. Let's get Miranda Richardson as the new sort of M figure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Stephen Fry could be like the Prime Minister.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rick Mayall as... wow.
Hugh Laurie as the villain. A German villain.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Elton.
Ben Elton. I mean, let's get Ben Elton and Richard Curtis to write it. I'm sure that would make it a hell of a lot better.
But it has to be a Bond-related sort of... Blackadder is the new Bond.
It's not actually Blackadder. Right? We're just getting the cast in as like a covert... Because all the Blackadder purists won't be happy that it's not as good as Blackadder, because it won't be, no matter what, like how hard they try.
Could we work it into the film in some way, though? Like in Skyfall, how Bond sort of like returns to his legacy and his heritage and his roots and stuff. Could we actually reveal that?
His brother.
So Johnny English has to go back to his heritage and his roots, and his dad's played by Brian Blessed.
Ooh. Yep. Perfect.
Still alive.
Still going strong.
Yeah.
I reckon he'll outlive the rest of the Blackadder cast. Calling it now. Series 1 cast.
He is in his 80s.
Yeah, he's been up fucking Mount Everest about 10 times, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's not generally good for your health, though.
Although the second time, didn't he have to call it quits because he shat himself near the top? Wasn't there something like that? It's like a scene from Johnny English.
So Johnny English has to confront his past that he's been hiding away from with the help of his trusty sidekick, Baldrick. Well, what can be in his past then that he has to confront? He's French.
Maybe that's it. I mean, maybe we take, straight from the front pages, we have Brexit be a part of the film, or...
Yeah, we do a satire of Brexit.
Yeah.
With Johnny English. That's exactly what people want from Johnny English.
Let's bring back John Malkovich, and he's now king of Germany or something. His evil scheme worked out in another country.
you are going to do a Brexit on... I will just keep talking.
I forgot you were here, French John Malkovich. How are you doing? Are you all right?
No, he's looking a lot older than he was back when they filmed Johnny English.
Oh dear. He's off doing highbrow stuff now, like films that aren't going to be released for 100 years or whatever that crappy did with Robert Rodriguez.
Is he in that? The Rodriguez? Oh man.
Yeah, that's the film that they showed once and then put in a vault for 100 years or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, they sent out tickets to the premiere in 100 years to rich people to hand down to their kids. Well, how about we do that? How about we make Johnny English 3 and then put it in a vault as a time capsule to show future generations what England was like?
How about we make Johnny English 3 and put it in a fire? Whatever. Okay, let's do this, right? What is the England you want to portray to generations 100 years from now?
Ooh.
How you sum up 2018 England?
I don't know if it's the England we want to portray. I think just an accurate portrayal, much like the first film is a very accurate snapshot of a culture when it was made. Yeah, the new one is the same, but the country's more divided and all over the shop. So Emma Thompson's playing the Prime Minister. That's a good start. She's completely incompetent. She's more incompetent.
I don't know.
Than
Emma
Johnny
Thompson's
English.
quite likable though.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
need
But she's a good actor. I'm sure she can play unlikable.
No.
Johnny English accidentally becomes Prime Minister through a series of bumbling, the Archbishop of Canterbury trips over and lands on him, and somehow he comes out as Prime Minister of England because that's how it works. and that's the satire, is that he's a completely incompetent leader of the country, but then he's got to cozy up with some foreign types, diplomats and what have you. Pascal can come back as ambassador for France or something. They've forgiven all the crime because he's rich and white, so it's believable.
You remember when I tried to take over the country? We laugh about it now.
No hard feelings.
No,
hard. I mean, it's believable in the world of Johnny English that France would be completely behind him and fine with forgiving everything he'd done, because the French hate the English and vice versa, as we all know, according to Johnny English. So, is this like the Russians supporting Trump? It's break it down from within. Yeah, that's it. That's a satire. Johnny English becomes the Prime Minister. Mr. Bean's around, and it all goes wrong, and it ends with just the UK on fire, That's the final shot, is the UK from space, and there's just smoke billowing.
It's an accurate representation of the public mood of 2018.
And Pascal is sat in France, watching from the Eiffel Tower, sipping on some wine,
champagne,
laughing. You English, It's not quite the feel-good ending that these films tend to have, though. I don't really know how you can...
No.
Can we get Danny Boyle to direct it?
Yeah. Oh man, imagine if, because it would actually be good. You'd actually make it good.
Do you think anyone could possibly make it?
Yeah, I think if Danny Boyle came in and they were going to let him take control of it and not fire him for creative differences, I think he would get it into a shape where it would probably end up being better than the next Bond film, genuinely.
I can't imagine him and Rowan Atkinson having a non-contentious relationship.
Oh, yeah. But I think that could breed some good material on screen, some good comedy.
True. Yeah, so apparently it's already out in some places, and
really?
It has a 36% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
How's that compared to the other two?
Very similar.
I mean, it's only had 14 reviews, I should say.
So at the time of recording, Johnny English 3... aka Johnny English Strikes Again, has got 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, which puts it 3% ahead of Johnny English, the first one. So it's yet another sequel better than the first film, apparently.
A triumph.
Yeah, but that is 2% lower than Johnny English Reborn, so... Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and if this hasn't been enough Johnny English chatter for you, then let me remind you that you can listen to our full unedited recording of this episode at our website, dimreturns.com. Not only do you get more of our opinions, but also the inane tangents that we go on, the talking over each other, the coughing directly into the microphone, all that great stuff that we cut out to make us sound more professional. And if you are a fan of the show, then please do us a favour and rate us on iTunes, as this helps us look legit and reach a wider audience. I'll see you next week.